Welcome to Emotional Badass. I'm Nikki Eisenhower. And today we're going to talk about the not good enough principle. Sensitive people, we struggle with this not being good enough. And if there's one thing that maybe is universal in the whole how we're affected by our families piece, if you had a parent, this is the example that I like to give. If you had a parent that you would run home, you would bring home your report card, and you had a great report card, whether you were a solid C student or a solid A student, a great report card for you. And your good, decent parent opens up your report card and scans it and points to the lowest grade and says, what happened here? If that little scenario I just gave you resonates, you may be victim to the never, ever good enough dynamic. Because a lot of parents, especially a lot of old school parents who grew up in a different time, different parent-child relationships, no Oprah on TV, no self-help, no podcast getting healing information out there that you're listening to right now. I'm sure this isn't your first podcast ever. So people were doing the best that they knew how to do. And what people thought was that that's motivating to point out your weakness so that you can work on it. That's what people really genuinely believed. Some people were also just really genuinely bullies. But regardless of the reason behind it, that was a really common thing. And what that does to a sensitive kid that just needs a little bit of praise, a little bit of encouragement, a little bit of, wow, you did great. That's it. That's all we really need. In that moment, we feel a little crushed. And that's where the perfectionism starts to bloom. It's not conscious. That kid doesn't necessarily think, I'm going to get perfect grades next time. They might, but often it's just subconscious because we want our parents' approval. We seek approval as a species. It's human. And we walk a fine line as healthy adults of needing encouragement, needing to be seen, needing to be heard from our tribe, but not relying on it and being able to give it to ourselves. So we're always kind of finding this balance. So with the not good enough, a lot of us in recovery, a lot of us in soul healing have to practice reprogramming our brains out of looking at a fantastic report card and noticing the lowest mark. Healing is about retraining ourselves so that our natural, automatic first response becomes and grows into opening up that report card and being able to see and go, oh my goodness, look at this. You got an A in this. You got a B in this. You got a C in this. And that's really hard for you. Wow. I can really see where your effort was. What do you think about your report card? Oh, I think it was great. I could still improve in some other areas, but I feel really good about it. Great. We know that type of interaction is more encouraging. That's why so many of us feel so stuck trying to heal this dynamic of being able to be kind to ourselves, being able to lift ourselves up. Basically being, feeling, owning, knowing that we are good enough deeply. That's part of why so many people struggle with anti-anxiety, anti-depression medications. And no pill is going to fix not feeling good enough if that's the core issue that's keeping you from peace. To do the last show of the meditation show, I had to give myself a lot of messages that I could do something that was good enough, even though it didn't have the perfect sounds in it, or I didn't quite know how to do, maybe say something, or I flubbed. Maybe I paused too long in some places and spoke too much in others. I wasn't born with that kind of self-judgment. That is something that we pick up, and sensitive people, empaths especially, were the sponges. So more than the average person, those messages of not good enough, I really soaked them up. And if you did too, you got to wring them out. That's what I've been working on all these years, is wringing out those not good enough messages. So I get to use something like this show the last meditation episode that we released, that's my growth edge. That self-criticalness, that not good enough that started playing in my head as I wanted to do a meditation episode. So we've got to grab those critical voices, pull them back. And I had to say to myself, I don't have to do this perfectly. I can do this and it can be good enough and valuable and it will be a learning experience and each one can get better and I can learn from each one. The more we do that, the easier that is. Today, that's like a 30-second to 5-minute process sometimes. A decade and a half ago, my goodness, that would have taken me weeks or years to be able to give myself such a permission to put myself out there like that and risk rejection, risk failure. Those are muscles. So if you're struggling with this not good enough, I encourage you to flip it and practice the good enough principle. We are never going to get done all the things that are on our to-do list today. Has that ever happened for you in your life where you got finished everything? I'm way too scattered with poor focus and creativity coursing through my body to get everything done on my to-do list. So I've got a good enough to-do list and a good enough getting things done policy. What's your good enough? You're in charge of deciding that. Think about it with the things that plague you. Can 3 loads of laundry be enough? What kind of enough permission do you need in your life? That's part of being and living as the emotional badasses we were born to be. And part of that is figuring out the good enough in your life. So I hope today's episode helped you maybe make some connections, figure out where you're being too hard on yourself and what your task is to heal that. Thank you for spending time with me today. Thanks for listening, guys. You can find me on all the social media spots. Come say hi. Come help me grow. Share the show if what you listened to was valuable today. I really appreciate it. Y'all are my marketing team. You can find me at Patreon and NikkiEisenhower.com. And there will be a link in the show episode bio. So you can find me. Okay. Thank you so much. Thank you for hanging out with me today. And I will see you next time on Emotional Badass.